Paul Newman was a bankable star for almost all of the 20th century. All you had to do was mention his name or give fans a glimpse of his piercing blue eyes. But keep watching to learn how Paul Newman lost his only son, and it destroyed him. Life before children. Paul Leonard Newman was born January 26, 1925. He was interested in theater from a young age, even joining the stage production of St. George and the Dragon when he was 10. Those stage ambitions got put on hold when he served in the Navy during World War II in the Pacific Theater. He enrolled in the V-12 pilot training but got dropped. He then qualified as a torpedo bomber in Hawaii and fought in the Battle of Okinawa in 1945. He used his military experience during his performance in the 1956 film The Rack. Paul earned his education after the war, getting a degree from Kenyon College. He enrolled in summer stock companies until attending the Yale School of Drama for a year. He then studied under Lee Strasberg at the Actors Studio in New York. He was hesitant to move to the city, but felt it was the best choice for his career and moved there in 1951. His Broadway debut was in a 1953 production of Picnic. After that, he earned roles in other productions, such as The Desperate Hours in 1955 and the 1959 production of Sweet Bird of Youth. His first TV role was an episode of Tales of Tomorrow in 1952. His breakthrough role was in the film Somebody Up There Likes Me in 56, a role initially intended for James Dean. His first Hollywood film was The Silver Chalice in 1954. It was a flop he hated, but it wasn't enough to derail his career. His first box office hit and Academy Award nomination was 1958's Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. He then had a string of hits for decades. 1967's Cool Hand Luke was selected by the Library of Congress for preservation in the National Film Registry. Paul formed the first artist production company in 1969 so that actors could secure rights and develop movies themselves. Not all of them were successful. He purchased the rights to A Hall of Mirrors, and the film version was a flop, but he considered it the most significant film he ever made. He got to show off his love for racing with the made-for-TV documentary Once Upon a Wheel in 1971. His final voice role was Doc in Cars 3, which he received billing for posthumously in 2017. His final role overall was in the 2008 documentary The Meerkats. Married with children. Paul was known for his piercing blue eyes, and they were once considered the most famous in film history. He'd often go around wearing sunglasses when interacting with fans, hoping they'd see him for more than his looks. Although he hated them, it was those baby blues that helped him land roles. They were also an easy way to help him attract women. It was almost surprising that he was only married twice. Paul Newman and Jackie Whitty were married from 1949 to 58. They had 3 children, Scott, Susan, and Stephanie. Paul met Joanne Woodward on the set of Picnic in 1953. Even Paul's wife Jackie could see that the two were meant for each other and granted him a divorce. Paul and Joanne dated, got married, and had 3 children, Nell, Lissy, and Clea. An article in the New Yorker once claimed that Paul had never wanted to become a father, but felt it was the natural next step after marriage. He even once admitted, quote, "I would not have wanted to be one of my children." His children with his first wife had extra struggles. They had trouble blending in with their new family. Any friends they brought over only seemed to be interested in meeting their famous father. The Newman girls later managed to find their footing in the world of Hollywood. Susan followed in her father's footsteps as a philanthropist and documentary filmmaker. She also earned roles in films such as I Want to Hold Your Hand in 1978. Scott had a harder time adjusting despite early promise. Scott's life and death. Alan Scott Newman was the first of Jackie Whitty and Paul Newman's 3 children. They were married in 1949 and remained together until their divorce in 58. Scott followed in his father's footsteps, becoming an actor. His most famous appearances were in The Towering Inferno and The Great Waldo Pepper in 1974 and SWAT in 75. Scott died of a drug and alcohol overdose on November 28, 1978. Looking back on his life, Paul feared his son always felt like he was competing with him. All children want to please their parents and live up to the legacy, no matter how famous they are. It wasn't until much later that Scott's true pain became known. Paul wrote that his son's partying seemed like a phase of bad judgment. He never thought it would be fatal. Handling the crushing loss. When his son died, Paul began to blame himself. He wished he could have told Scott that he didn't have to be like his father, and all he had to do was to be himself. He even got down on his knees and asked for forgiveness. He believed that his son might have had an easier life and not gone down such a dark path if he hadn't been a movie star. He also blamed his own drinking for negatively affecting Scott. He, quote, took it as far as it could go in the early 70s. Despite his level of control, he was amazed that he survived at all. He admitted that when his son was alive, he'd considered suicide. He thought it would allow Scott to feel free to live his own life and encouraged him to get the help he needed. Paul's daughter, Clea, noticed how Scott's death caused him to examine his own life. She says her father began to suffer in silence, but was moved to begin a deep soul-searching process. If there was anything positive to come out of the tragedy, it was the Scott Newman Center for Drug Abuse Prevention that Paul set up with a $1 million donation and the Scott Newman Chair in Pharmacy at the University of Southern California. These foundations were meant to educate the world on the potentially deadly effects of substance abuse. Paul's regrets spanned beyond how he treated Scott. He wished he was more attentive to all of his children and had the ability to give them a more normal lifestyle. Paul's last years and his death. Paul never slowed down with his philanthropy or other business ventures. He founded Newman Haas Racing in 1982 and Hole-in-the-Wall Gang Champs to help children with illnesses. In 2006, he opened a restaurant called The Dressing Room to help the Westport County Playhouse. His career slowed in the late 2000s. He once quipped in 1998 that he was embarrassed to see the salad dressing from his line of food products earning more than his movies. Headlines ran in 2007 claiming that he was beginning to lose confidence in his own abilities. He turned down a role in the 2008 production of Mice and Men due to health concerns. The press reported he was receiving treatment for lung cancer. A.E. Hotchner, his former partner with Newman's Own, said he'd been told about the diagnosis 18 months earlier. Paul died of lung cancer at age 83 on September 26, 2008. He was cremated after a private funeral service. His relationship with Joanne lasted for 40 years, quite an achievement for a former partier living in the world of Hollywood. When asked about seeing other women, he once quipped, quote, "Why go out for a hamburger when you have steak at home?" Rumors of affairs continued after his death but were never confirmed. Their relationship is also the subject of a docu-series in 2022 called The Last Movie Stars. It was released on HBO Max and created by Ethan Hawke. The dialogue is made of compiled tapes with Laura Linney voicing his wife and George Clooney voicing Paul. Now it's time to hear from you. What's your favorite Paul Newman role? Let us know in the comments section below.